Welcome to Marsh Stream and the Marsh. So glad you're here tonight for Solo Performers Spotlight. So thrilled tonight to have Merle Kessler on doing the important announcer. He's going to be performing live. Merle has been performing at the Marsh forever, and we love him, and he's done philosophy talk and so many things. So please, let's welcome Merle and the important announcer.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I recently got an email from Atlantic Magazine, a little newsletter, really, an announcement. Yeah, a lot of ways email is like radio. You get messages from people you don't know about things you neither requested nor desired, but soon you might. It was an invitation to listen to Atlantic podcasts, which I was told came from around the newsroom. I didn't know Atlantic had a newsroom. I have seen newsrooms in movies. They're large rooms filled with typewriters and teletype machines, usually with smaller rooms on the sides that have conference tables, blackboard and dry erase boards, and often have men in nylon shirts, sleeves rolled up, screaming about whether to run with a story or not. Hold the front page, somebody might shout, though I have never personally seen that in a movie. It's supposed to be one of those movie memes, like always showing the editor with an unlit cigar in his mouth, which I have seen, or some slick-looking guy rushing in to tell them they can't run with that story, you lose the Trump account. That's your biggest advertiser. I've seen that one. Now, there's a difference between podcasts and radio and magazines and television. The big difference being podcasts aren't really trying to convince you of anything. It's something to listen to while you're doing something else. It's usually about something you already know. And if there is information, that doesn't really usually lead to you wanting to find out more about the thing, but to make a note, listen to more podcasts by the person who's doing the podcast. Many podcasts are about unsolved crimes that are boring, but we enjoy listening to people talk about them. And many podcasts are also just some dude sitting around and gassing. Podcasts have become a thing. Some podcasts have been sold to Netflix and such to make dull movies, television series, and movies. Some podcasters have found fame as podcasters, but they aren't really happy about it. They know that podcasts are just blogs, really. So it's an empty fame, like winning the hot dog eating contest or having the ability to wiggle your ears. But I think announcers might be in danger. The mediators, the bringers, the newscasters, narrators, podcasters might reference other podcasters, but they have no authority, really, other than themselves. Announcers only reference others, never themselves. Critics claim, stunned critics point out, disappointed followers, 9 out of 10 doctors, former supporters, a source close to the president, a troubled fan, representative, a spokesman who often can be an announcer himself. Announcers make lists of movies that you couldn't make today, what with runaway political correctness and the cancel culture, which some say is a thing. Announcers often claim that others are playing the race card. Announcers are just putting it out there. Announcers can often be roles played by actors, but it doesn't take much, certainly not emotional risk, to be an announcer. Just speak clearly and brightly. You're pretending to be a man who cares about a chicken wing. You're announcing its value to the world. And you at home are complicit. You are also an announcer. You are announcing your attention to the man pretending to care about the chicken wing. You are being tracked. Even if you aren't, you might suddenly, seeing the man on television care about the chicken wing, yourself want a chicken wing. Send it out for chicken wings? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, the announcer on television has changed or not changed your life in a small way. And there is nary a chicken in sight. It's persuasion. It's what we fear the most. That we're suckers, that we missed the boat. We fell victim to persuasion and lost everything. Or we were persuaded that it was the right thing to do. Either way, the choice is made. We say this, but we act as though choices are somehow preordained. We are hardwired to like something. That's how we do things. I really shouldn't. Should I? I will. I'm going to regret this. Persuasion is like hypnotism, we say, but we cannot be made to do something we would not normally do. But we know that's not true. We believe that. We also believe that there's something contagious about persuasion. There are bad things that suck us in once we're exposed, and we must be on our guard. Socialism, the cancel culture, Antifa, QAnon, racism, smoking, sunbathing, toxic relationships. We gaze at the Medusa we call a lifestyle option, and we are turned to stone. So we avoid contact to begin with, even before the lifestyle option we call social distancing, which half of us feel is a libtard plot. Either way, we're persuaded. The announcer brings the news, the polls, the doctors, the shrinks, the persuasive arguments on which we click or not, and we are persuaded. And oh God, we're trapped forever. We have many announcers who became famous or became announcers because of fame. Sportscasters, game show hosts, newscasters, talk show hosts. celebrity spokesmodels, Regis Philbin, Paula Zahn, Paul Harvey. Many television and radio shows came with their own announcers. Ed McMahon, Don Pardo, Jack Benny had Don Wilson, who would actually stop by Jack Benny's house on the show, within the show, as would Harry Von Zell with George Burns and Gracie Allen. In smaller market television stations, the local on-air folks would wear many hats. The weatherman would also host the kiddie cartoon show or the weekend horror movie. He'd pretend to be a cowboy or your funny uncle, and this would often lead to new careers. Soupy Sales, Sven Gulli, Mystery Science Theater. How does that happen? How do you become important enough in your delivery of information to become more important than the information you're delivering? And true, some announcers do become important announcers. Walter Cronkite, Ronald Reagan, and other announcers want to be important announcers, which is largely a matter of luck and the number of radios tuned to your voice. How can you become an important announcer? There's only so many things an announcer can do. How do you get better? How do you attract more listeners and also people who want you to talk for them? Because you give the message, but the message is not yours. You announce, you bring the news. You are not the news. Convinces others of the truth, which can be your truth. You can be of and above it. Like a chaplain in Masonic Lodge. You're not really a chaplain. You play a doctor on TV. Your voice is your authority, your ubiquity. You introduce movie stars and people who need no introduction. But there is no personal relationship on the face of it. Not in this circumstance. You are merely announcing. Here's the movie. Here's the book. And I worked on the radio. My voice is a certain timbre, a unique resonance. People seem to like my voice. It's a little hard edge sometimes, but there's a breeze behind it. A warm city breeze, a breeze that has long since left the country. I tell you things, and you seem to like me. You're not afraid of me anyway, but I know you'll never love me. But why would you? I'm just a guy on the radio. Here's a little poem I wrote. What we should have done, what we went and did, should have charged the fort, should have went and hid. Hi, little Timmy. You're a good boy. Hi, little Susie. I see you out there, good girl. And hi there, Star Dick Thunder Pussy. Who knows what the fuck you are? Some Antifa Portland bullshit, no doubt. Good though, no doubt. No doubt there you are a good little whatever. We all good. I don't care. I've seen it all. And it's all just one big situational ethics, all meat patties, as far as I'm concerned. Bitter and sweet dance with each other. Bob's your uncle, but there's hell to pay. Yeah, I'm that guy. The uncle with the nasty little toys he doesn't want to share with you. That uncle. Or sometimes the uncle that can pull a nickel from your ear and give it to a puppy. I don't like it, but I do it. That uncle too. And if Bob's your uncle, call me Bob. When Sam comes calling, don't look at me. I'm a Dutch uncle, mainly Uncle Remus, till I get called on it. Children, don't give up. Just say uncle. I'll be there in a New York minute. Uncle, not your real uncle. Uncle, I'm that guy. How about it, Star Dick Thunder Pussy? Want to go shoot some hoops? Me neither. Listen and learn. I can pull a nickel from your ear, and if you're 5 years old, you'd be amazed at your old uncle's little trick. But if you're 7, you think, old uncle's kind of an asshole. What side of the family is he from anyway? The thing is, it's a magical world. We just don't think about it that way. For example, some of us are missing that tiny part in our brains that gives a fuck about other people. This can lead both to trouble and great leadership. A person who cares how others see him, a person who only cares about how others see him is a psychopath, generally practiced in the art of impressing others to the point of marriage and subsequent fraud, divorce, and or murder, whereas people who are not psychopaths run around bragging about it on Twitter, which seems kind of psychotic to me, but maybe just neurotic. I don't know. Does anybody even go to therapy anymore? It's all just Peloton and LSD. I'm so out of it. But then I get confused because I have the ability to go back and forward in time. Is that true? Yes, little Timmy, it is true. One of the glories of live or even recorded or even streaming Zoomy theater is you can say any damn thing you want and the audience will either go with you or they won't. It's the binary of acceptance and denial, both of which are valid responses to any stimulus. Don't let the experts tell you a difference. So backward and forward to end up where you started. I have the power to end up where I started. It's like one of those magical powers that used to pop up in 1950s and 60s television. Twilight Zone would have a character who presented as a bartender in a roadside dive, but was really an alien observer. Or take now. You got a deep throat insider spy named Q who was really a Russian hoax. Take all these B movies. An unhappy comic criminal becomes the Joker. The Joker becomes a smoker. The Midnight Toker, the great-great-granddaughter of Van Helsing, falls in love with a quarterback who she finds out comes from a long line of Draculas. What's the hell to do? A movie about that would make millions today. But we can't leave the house. So don't trust appearances. Give me I'm reading this from my computer here. Don't trust appearances or enhance appearances to steroids. That's what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is many sides, kid. And everything changes on a dime. Some fires you can't put out with water. Got to use baking soda and then brush your teeth and go to bed. Uncle will be up in a second to tell a scary story that may or may not be true. Okay, now I've read 100 variations on this one. Trying to run away from the devil, you hail a cab, and it turns out your cabbie is Satan. It wouldn't work now. Ubers aren't running. And if they were, you'd have to call Uber to come get you, and the name of the driver shows up on your phone. It'll say Satan right there. You'd cancel the ride, and there goes your fucking little joke or whatever right out the window. And Satan still there, right on your tail. And now, this meditation. Oh, to be an associate. Standing proud as the massive parking lot side doors glide open with a click, a rumble and a roar. Shoppers drift in quickly out of any and every storm. Some weathered, some stout. Bits of empties in the jetsam, you might say, as they swerve into the cool. And here we are, clerks, security, teenage sandwich makers, associates like me, eager to serve. Come bask in the bounty of this mega superstore. You can't have it all, but some can be yours. That is our heritage. Some can be yours. This is now our ancestral home. We've made it so in history will make it so. So we have always had marketplaces and shining surfaces and dark places to hide and places designed to enhance the exchange of coin for goods, with always songs, dances, stories to keep you interested, to keep you going, to number your needs as determined by science, and then gaslight you about what they are. Who wouldn't want to stand a little bit above all that? You're not an angel, not a god, but an associate nonetheless, and the pay grade to prove it. Why not shoot for it? Aim for the stars. Why not be that associate that retail demands, the one true associate who knows what America needs and has it ready to go, boxed up and waiting, ready to go. That associate, that guy. Let's turn now to Reagan, who began as a radio announcer and then became an actor and then a spokesperson for General Electric, GE, the Google of its day. Reagan was kind of an announcer who got the crown. And then, miracle of miracles, he became president. Speaking to us and for us, whether we like it or not. When you're a spokesman, it's first class all the way. You have to suck up to the board, pretend to be amused by the mascot's antics, and sneer at labor demands, but you also meet the singers of the day, the comedians, the actors, the famous. You could have chicken with senators, and fly first class to mid-range cities to stay at nice hotels and shake hands at conventions. Your face is on the billboards. You're Walt Disney, my friends. Hugh Hefner, Gloria Steinem, top of the heapy heap. And Reagan was king of them all. America historically has been stirred from time to time by the image of the shining city on the hill. Stirred and strangely calmed. Reagan himself would see the city on the hill in his dreams and hum in his sleep patriotic marches that were also lullabies. The shining city on the hill image came from the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus was talking about not hiding your light under a bushel, and then went from the bushel to a city. As the Bible says, a city set on a hill cannot be hid. Don't hide your shining city. In other words, put it on a hill where the world can see it. Then John Winthrop mused on this image while aboard the ship bringing Puritans to the new land. In true Puritan fashion, he dampened any enthusiasm people might be having. He said unto them, we must always consider that we shall be as a city upon the hill. The eyes of all people are upon us. So the city on the hill, which Jesus said was a glory, was now in America a reason to be careful. Everybody can see you. Everybody's watching. It's a glass house. So President Reagan may not have quite understood exactly what it was he was talking about. That was what's so cute about him, really. But it does seem clear that the glorious shining city on the hill of Jesus, once it got to America, became the be careful, everybody's watching city on the hill. Not just the cancel culture. There's the abortion is murder culture, the Cardi B shouldn't talk about her pussy like that culture, the what is the deal with Billie Eilish culture, things that are exposed, things that need explaining more than ever, and the Twitter mob ready to jump every which way, because today, all the time, we're watching each other. On the Twitter, Facebook, on the Google, and the NSA, we're exposed to racism, elitism, the dangers of vaccination. It's a fallen world, and all the shadows are gone. But what did Reagan think he meant. On January 11th, 1989, he made his farewell speech to the nation. He said, quote, "I've spoken of the shining city all my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds, living in harmony and peace, a city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity. And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors. And the doors are open to anyone with the will and the heart to get there. That's how I saw it and see it still," unquote. You see what's weird about this? He sees the city, but he's not in the city. It's up there on a hill, which is now giant rocks stronger than oceans. There are howling winds. The doors might be open if you've got the guts to go there. So he doesn't actually live there. It's like a village on a model train setup, only kind of intimidating. It's like Main Street at Disneyland, only you don't have money for the rides. Nobody lives there. You pretend to live there. If you tried to live there, that would be idealistic, which would make you a liberal, and you'd just ruin everything. A true conservative values his liberty too much to take advantage of it. You just visit. When your time's up, you walk to the parking lot, which is right there, climb into your car, and inch your way home in darkness, where all the smug hippies are parked on your brown lawn to yell at you for being racist. That's Portland today. And so here is where America stands, gobsmacked by history, flabbergasted by our own exceptionalism. And now here are some lines from screenplays I wrote for movies that never got made. Just because you're immune to venom doesn't mean you should take a job in a Cobra factory. They're lines from movies that I wrote that never got made. This werewolf has a penis. Ah, cut it out. You're going to get tears in those pretty satin shoes. Land's sake, you're as fearful as a June bride. A sex party? No way was I going to pass that up. I'm just another Johnny-come-lately from Forehead, Texas. You? Topless in Gaza, nothing on the floor but Samsonite. You've heard about the Achilles heel? Bob Smith has a Hercules heel, and we're running out of time. Oh, we'll get back to our theme in a minute, but first a diversion kind of, maybe not. QAnon. Okay, so I started on the internet. Notice nobody calls it the World Wide Web anymore. It all seems so very narrow. It began with the Chans 4 and 8, which were and are internet things, old school, like the forums and chat rooms of yore, GeoCities, Lycos, Usenet, CompuServe, Wired Magazine. 4chan was home to Anonymous. Remember him? Them? All the anarchist pranksters and hacks, as opposed to libertarians. Also hobbyists and weird porn enthusiasts, you know, tentacle hentai, giant women want to devour you, hardcore furry action, that type of thing. This Q pops up in that world. Hidden government, top secret, deep state guy with information to share about huge global doings to come. It reminds me of many of the true crime shows I've seen on Investigation Discovery. Remember when Discovery Channel was just documentaries about animals? Who says cable is dead? Anyway, a common true crime mystery is a housewife who dies under mysterious circumstances. And it turns out she'd married this guy everybody said was a little shady. He'd disappear for weeks at a time. And when she finally called him on it, you can't tell her what's going on because he's in the CIA and he's always on call. And so I can't keep it secret. And by the way, I need that $10,000 you're saving for the college fund so I can bribe a Ukrainian hitman. She says, well, okay, honey, why didn't you say so in the first place? And the next thing you know, her accounts are bled dry. She's found dead in the mountains, even though she's scared of heights. And he's moved to Florida, changed his name, and it's a brand new account with farmersonly.com. That's what QAnon seems like to me. Something called QAnon casualties still exists in a subreddit. These are people mourning loved ones who now spend every waking hour in the rabbit hole of QAnon. The Q movement has also been linked to the hashtags hashtag the Great Awakening, hashtag WWG1, WGA, which stands for where we go one, we go all, which sounds like the Three Musketeers, only really clumsy. It's also sometimes linked with the phrase follow the white rabbit. Red and blue pills, all of the Matrix are often referenced, but I forget which is which in this context. I think red means you're Q all the way. All of Q's messages from the beginning are online. As of August 20th, we were at 4626, which reads simply, fifth column, Q. Who's the fifth column? I don't ask Q. Q don't play that. He's a little short on actual accurate information. Drop 854, for instance, said that HRC raw video would emerge. It did not. Drop 1043 claimed that pics would surface of Obama holding an AK-47 dressed like an Afghan rebel. Where are those pics? I would so put them on my dorm room wall. Drop 1014 was Zuckerberg was going to step down. Not so, Q. So now Q is, after big ongoing splashes of dribbles, is kind of going the way of those evangelicals who said the world is going to end and then it didn't. Meaning somehow they keep getting more followers, even though everything they say is wrong. Now, how does that work? Well, just like with churches, it seems, the less sense it makes, the more people like it. His followers have become priests or imams, parsing Q and Q teams increasingly Nostradamus-ish Vegas posts. They're all promising something is coming soon, but not exactly what. The QAnoners look at hand gestures. They scan pictures looking for anything that might be a Q shape, which could be a coded message. You want anti-Semitism? Well, Zionists are in there too sometimes, depending on how Netanyahu is doing in his legal difficulties. Trump was in Massachusetts one time, which starts with an M, and message starts with an M. Come on, people. How hard can it be to examine everything in America and see how it all comes together and to make one word? His messages are labeled drops and called crumbs, as in the clues that led Hansel and Gretel to the witch's house, which is right across the clearing from Baba Yaga, by the way. The weird thing about all this is that Trump is the savior in the final scenario. QAnon says the whole Mueller report was just a false flag to put Democrats off guard. Trump is in cahoots with those lawyers. It's all a trick. At the right moment, lawyers and SWAT teams are going to arrest everybody at once. When? Well, the one piece of the puzzle needed to set everything in motion is for a reporter from the mainstream media to ask Trump the Q being, is QAnon real? Then Trump is supposed to look out at people at home and solemnly say, my fellow Americans, the storm is upon us. Or tweet it, one of the two, and then unleash the Kraken, I reckon. Go, 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 green light, open fire, break off the cuffs, break off the hats and hooters, arrest them all, let God sort them out. That means, of course, Hillary, because she's behind everything. Hopes were high at a recent press conference when Trump actually was asked about QAnon, as per the prophecy, but instead of the storm is upon us, he said, quote, I don't know much about the movement, other than I understand they like me very much, which I appreciate, but I don't know much about the movement. I've read those are people that love our country. I don't know really anything about it, other than they do supposedly like me. Later, Pence said pretty much the same thing. They like Trump, don't know much about it. Now, sure, Pence said, I'll denounce all conspiracy theories, but not this one specifically. Keep the door open. But how can Trump not know about QAnon? I know about it, and I spend most of my time trying not to. I can have it both ways, but can Trump? I mean, Trump splits his time between gulf tweeting and seeing what people think about him. Surely he or somebody near him has read the same Q drops as everybody else. I mean, it's all about him. And he's a secret hero of bizarre fantasy. It ends with Hillary behind ours bars. What's not to like? Of course, he must also be aware that's caused a few deaths from the actions of over-enthusiastic cult members. Then again, Trump might not care about that. More people have died from the coronavirus, and he keeps shining that on. Maybe it's real, and he knows that's part of it. Well, then why be coy? Why didn't you just say, yes, I am part of a conspiracy designed to expose a global pedophile conspiracy led by Hillary Clinton? Then if he's not supposed to tell anybody, which I guess he's not, for some reason, just blame somebody else for leaking. He's really good at that, but it is hard to grasp. See, this ain't just pedophiles. It's JFK Jr. still alive, and as part of the resistance hiding somewhere. Tom Hanks is part of it, only evil. How do we know? Because Tom Hanks made that movie where he wore a red shoe. That shoe is code, you see. This all led to the famous Pizzagate nonsense, where some enthusiastic QAnoner armed himself and raided a pizza parlor in D.C. to free the children in the basement. No basement, no sex slaves who were clearly labeled small cheese pizza, no toppings. Why weren't they there? Just this week, a drunk QAnon woman tried to run over a runaway pedophile with her car. Her roommate bailed her out of jail and tried to tell her to cool it, and she said she was fine. She said the nice policeman even told her that she was in good girl jail. This is true. The point being that this whole QAnon thing is taking moral panic to new psychedelic levels. And once the hospitals are clear of COVID patients, sometime in 2024 is projected, we will have a whole new subculture of emotionally wounded QAnoners who will need to go through rehab, counseling, special sessions with Q himself, now revealed to be Vladimir Putin, who is actually a repentant Dr. Bamusa in disguise. Very, very sorry for all the grief he put America through. But that's a long, long way away, if at all. Questions remain. Why would an international sex slave pedophile ring need secret coding? Now, surely they all know each other by now, and yet they persist. Also, the secret hero of QAnon is Donald Trump. After the storm, we will enter a new golden age free of pedophilia, but with nonstop Disney movies reasonably priced. So here's the stumbling block right there for me in the QAnon theory. Clearly, Trump is not a guy who cares about children one way or the other. Lawyers deal with it. If they can't, hey, get new your lawyers. That's your basic Trump all the way down. And I'll tell you this, Trump would not be the one to shed a tear if some kid lost his allowance in the nickel slots. That's right, QAnon. There's your fucking savior. But here's the other weird thing, as I understand it. When the signal is given, the storm will begin. General SWAT teams, Hillary in chains, the QAnoners will watch it happen. That's right. It's called popcorn time. The storm is called The Show, like a long-awaited Star Wars movie or something. Just sit back and watch it. Fall asleep on the couch. But who's going to televise it? All the fake news people, I'm assuming, will be led away like Hillary. OAN will still be around, but Chanel Ryan will be too busy giving head in the Oval Office to cover the trials, which will be boring, won't they? Guilty, next, guilty, next, guilty, which may be why QAnoners are jumping the gun. Focus on saving the children, not going after the alleged children in the ICE prison camps. No, the ones the movie stars have. Where are they? Now, there's an actual organization, been around for 100 years or so, called Save the Children. QAnon wants them to stop. They're diluting the brand. A couple of QAnoners are even running for Congress this year, and nobody's laughing. But what is this all about? Were we looking for a hero? Well, geez, we had Roy Rogers, just threw him away. He could ride, he could sing, he was a good shot, he was a good spokesman. He could shoot the pistol right out of a bad guy's hand without any damage to the hand, not even a scratch. The shot would ring out, the gun would jump from the villain's hand, the villain would gasp and grasp his gun hand, and he'd be fine. Roy Rogers disabled him without disabling him. That's how good a shot he was. And don't get me started on Trigger. That's not what QAnon is all about. This turned into some kind of parody of the end times. No Satan, no Antichrist, no Jesus, no plagues. Oh, wait, okay, plagues and fires, we got that. We're not looking for a hero, but an announcer. Someone who knows what's coming next, what's coming up, who can tell us about it. That's nothing to be done about it. We all know that. It is what it is. We all do, but somebody has a piece of paper with a schedule. Cthulhu is coming at 6. Please avoid the Cleveland area. Godzilla's been spotted 20 miles out of Miami. Tornado Cane in New Orleans. Shelter in place. All at-risk seniors assemble for triage in Salt Lake City. You're on your own. You're on your own. The world has gone insane and it's on fire and there's nothing you can do. Why is nobody telling us that? Somebody you can trust. Another little poem. A true crime poem. He married her, she murdered him with antifreeze and gin. He was insured from grief inured. She soon was wed again. And now a little story. It's called Catchphrase. Richard had been a child star on a situation comedy. Then called Dickie, Richard played the lovable yet bratty son of the couple who lived next door. The show ran for 7 years, during which Dickie aged from 5 to 12. His catchphrase, "Need some help with that?" uttered in a high-pitched whine, never failed to elicit laughter and applause. He even had a hit record with his catchphrase, sampled and set to a beat. When the series ended, there was an attempt to establish Dickie as a pop star, fronting a band called Dickie and the Helpers. None of the songs charted, and the spin-off sitcom Help Dickie was yanked after 3 weeks. Dickie found some work after that, but his career pretty much foundered by the time he was 21. When invited, he would attend nostalgia conventions where he answered questions and autographed memorabilia. At one such convention, a woman approached him, an attractive woman, his own age, who said she had a crush on him when she was 12. They struck up a conversation, agreed to have dinner, and when she invited him back to her home, he accepted. They kissed, they parted. She asked him to say it. Say what? You know. And Richard was a good-natured fellow. He said it. She told him he was saying it wrong. Here, she said, I'll show you. She took him by the hand and led him to the bedroom. There were pictures of him on the walls, dozens of them, headshots from his childhood, video caps, pictures from magazine photo shoots. She had every episode of the sitcom and copies of every program in which he had ever appeared. She had her own mixtape, a DVD, actually. Come to think of it, Richard had seen it on YouTube, pieces of it, as much as he could stand. It had his every utterance of, need some help with that, back to back in order, some 87 times in all. She put this in the player and told him to watch it and practice while she made herself more comfortable. She left the room. After a minute or two of watching himself, hearing, need some help with that, become bigger, more false, more forced each time, he also left the room and the house, walked back to his hotel, checked out, and took the next flight back to Los Angeles. Got his car from the lot and headed for home, taking surface streets to avoid traffic. He passed a woman leaning on a car by the side of the road. Her right rear tire was flat, and she was shaking her head at a cell phone. He pulled up next to her. Need some help with that? He asked, and immediately felt his face turning red. Yes, she said. Thank you. One thing led to another. They were married 6 months later. With her encouragement, he wrote a book, My Name is Richard, about a life almost destroyed by parents and the Hollywood system, then redeemed by love. It became a bestseller. And Richard used his success to transform himself, with his wife managing his business affairs, into a life coach. You've seen his infomercial. It begins with a montage of couples in trouble. Then Richard appears as a toll-free number crawls across his chest. He says to the camera, need some help with that? He's been quite successful. When not giving seminars, he lives in Phoenix with his wife and 2 children. Little history of show business now before we continue. Vaudeville came out of burlesque, which was dancing girls in baggy pants, buffoons, and blues songs and blue jokes. No place to take a girl, no place for a girl to go with a friend after a hard day at the factory. Ugh, cigars, take it to your club, boyo. Don't blow those rings at me. This gave way to vaudeville. Bigger audience, not as rowdy. Ladies could go. Ladies were in it with clothes on, singing and making jokes, and the boys lined up. Take that cigarette out of your mouth, you rat. Here come the piano playing blues. And stars were made in the early days of the 20th century, before radio, before movies, before anything. It was vaudeville all the way. And in between the juggling act and the Keatons throwing a little Buster around, they'd show a new thing, a movie. Early movies. Oh, look, a train, horses, cool. High and wide, like you're small and watching through a window. Vaudeville was where movies came from, not photography so much. That was just the cheese on the pizza. Of course, you could see movies in arcades as well, put in your change and watch by yourself using Mr. Edison's machines or getting your head stomped if you didn't. All sorts of wonders were shown in the streets of New York, but you brought your own noise with you and the noise of the street. That was not like the theater where movies thrived and you watched them elbow to elbow with strangers. And soon the simple moving images gave way to stories. A train robbery, like you're watching it through an open window in a darkened theater, the exits clearly marked. Maybe you weren't supposed to be there. These places have history, you know, brawls and drunkenness, sword-head couplings, no doubt, blood, sweat, and tears. That's it right there. That's the secret heart of movies right there. Maybe we've gone too far. Maybe we weren't meant to see this place, this dark place. It was Buster Keaton twisting in the air. Now it's a large man shooting a gun, a ghost, gone as soon as you see him. There's the exit, clearly marked. Maybe we're not supposed to be here. Then the movies got longer. Fed up with Weather and Edison goons, the movies went to Hollywood. The dancers took a break until sound came along. The singers hit the road, the comics hit the skids. Here comes radio, and that was that. The death of vaudeville. Another little story. Biggest liar in the world. The biggest liar in the world died. It was decided to remove his brain to see if there's something there to indicate how and why its owner had become such a big liar. To the doctor's amazement, the brain came back to life. They quickly called in a telepath so they could communicate with the brain because, of course, it had no mouth. What should we ask the brain, they wondered. The biggest question of all, of course, suggested the telepath, is there life after death? The doctors agreed. The telepath spot beamed the question, and the answer came back immediately, yes, there is life after death. Everybody was elated for a moment or two, and then remembered who they were talking to, and became very sad. The announcer was pretty much a 20th century development, kind of a late-stage capitalist figure. In some ways, the announcer came out of the minstrel shows as well. The white guy who stood between the two blackface performers to feed them setups for jokes. The interlocutor, the master of ceremonies, the green master, the invisible man who names the cast, the invisible man who lists categories, the awards, the voice that gives you the safety rules. Flight attendants are announcers made flesh, and for years, as radio made its way into the homes of America and the world, we did not wonder about the man and the radio. He was just a voice. Did he have a little office in there with a tiny microphone? Did he have a little cot in which he would take naps between programs? In the 1920s, a man named Dr. John Brinkley became known as the goat gland king in the United States. He would insert goat testicles into men's ball sacks, which helped them with impotence, kind of a porn placebo. He would also insert goat ovaries into the thighs of women. He was amazingly successful. He went from direct mail blitzes for his cure to radio. One of the early embracers of this fledgling medium. Business was good, but he couldn't be on the radio selling goat balls 24/7, so he started having other things to fill the hours: military bands, French lessons, astrologer storytelling, Hawaiian music, popular because of the San Francisco Pan-Pacific Exhibition, then on to American roots music, gospel, country, string bands, blues. He moved to Texas, and he began selling airtime to other advertisers: crazy water crystals, simulated diamonds, life insurance, autographed pictures of Jesus. He continued packing his lineup with country and roots singers, including Patsy Montana, Red Foley, Gene Autry, Jimmy Rogers, and the first country superstars, the Carter family. He helped make them all famous. How? He set up at the border, and the Mexican government allowed Brinkley to up his wattage to 1,000,000 watts, making his station the most powerful radio station on the planet. On clear nights, it could be heard in Canada. The signal turned on headlights, made bed springs hum, could cause a broadcast to bleed into telephone conversations. Local ranchers reported they could hear programs through their barbed wire fences. People got the signal through the fillings in their teeth. Then the fledgling AMA called him a charlatan, and he sued for libel, which was not smart, because he was a charlatan, and it wasn't libel. He lost everything. The Goat Gland King gave us border radio, as beloved by the Blasters, ZZ Top, and others. He helped shape modern radio and American music. Do we salute him for that? Well, he was also responsible for the deaths of hundreds of people from bad diagnoses and septicemia. Got away with it for years, and America loved it for it. God bless you, Dr. Brinkley. Send it away for the thing that kills you and thank Jesus for it, even as you're slipping away. Today, the FDA is more hated than Dr. Brinkley ever was. That is so American. Dr. Brinkley was a godhead, you might say, from which all unctuous con men came. A mail-order serial killer. God bless you, sir. I think of you every time I take my Viagra. Which reminds me, this last flu season, I go to Walgreens and get some of those little pocket Kleenex packets. They have little slogans on them, inspirational slogans. Believe in yourself. Seize this moment. Summon your strength. Find your fearless. Committees assembled by the Kleenex people hired people to dream these slogans up. Meetings were held with dry erase boards. Votes were tallied. Lawyers vetted. There was test marketing, polling. You know that's all true. Clearly, Kleenex didn't really believe in the viability of believe in yourself. At least at first, Kleenex didn't really believe in itself. They had to float the notion of believing in yourself. They had to put it out there. They had to reach out, get feedback, and cover its bets with feasibility studies and focus groups. They only believed in themselves as far as they could throw themselves. Find your fearless, lose your fearless. You mean, especially now if you're the makers of Kleenex. Okay, I looked it up, Kimberly Clark. I went to school with the Kimberly Clark. They also make Huggies, which is kind of a rude, stinky landfill. In the wake of big tax cut that was going to create jobs. Remember this? Kimberly Clark laid off 5,000 workers. They said they were going to use the savings to restructure. More consultants, find your fearless, to dream up more slogans to put on Kleenex. These kind of bland inspirations are the meat and potatoes of afternoon chat shows. Oprah is the queen of that. The Empress. So when any claim is made or advice given or fortune offered, I always wonder, I shouldn't, but I always do, who is talking? Who's telling me to seize the moment? Who wants the you that is me to believe in yourself? Is it you? Do you really care? What if it's Hitler telling you that, disguising his voice and pretending to be the Wizard of Oz? Is it still good advice? What if it's a robot? Or what if a psychotic killer Hitler robot said, kill your children? You could put that on a Kleenex too. Or if you're the maker of puffs, you could put it on a Kleenex. You could put it out that Kleenex wants to put kill your children on tissues as an ISIS plot. And didn't George Soros buy Kleenex when he took over Walgreens? Remember when Hillary was blowing her nose that one time? She's trying to get America sick. Just putting it out there. It says puffs. Save America, buy puffs. In 1996, George Soros paid $150,000 to Kimberly Clark to keep her quiet about their love child. That's true. So a while back, I participated in a live event staged in the high school auditorium devoid of students. There was a big poster in the hall outside the auditorium that said, "Trust, integrity, excellence." Here again, some committee somewhere decided trust, integrity, excellence was worth a poster 10 feet tall to put in a high school. It's kind of secular, but there's something miraculous about it, and an implicit hope anyway. Oh, I'm a poor high school junior being told so many different things. In order to get by on this once lovely planet now nearly destroyed by capitalist blundering, how do I know how to filter what is true from the false? And how to ignore my trigger warnings if possible? I really want to have fun at the next Friday. Lord, speak unto me, TKS, LOL. And lo, an angel appeared unto him, saying, "Here I am, but look over there." And I looked unto where the angel was pointing across the hallway, and there was a big sign that said, "Trust, integrity, excellence." So I dropped out of high school to become an unpaid intern to Mr. Peter Thiel. Also this same week, I did an event at a college. Before the show, I was in the campus cafeteria where I saw an inspirational poster labeled "Circle of Responsibility." This is a bit more collegey than the high school poster, and I promised to have perhaps more practical value. I got up close, and examination revealed that the illustration of the circle was divided into thirds labeled environment, community, and well-being. I wondered if my lunch order might fit in. It was a plain toasted cheese sandwich, so it'd be responsible to the environment because it was meat-free. If my community had a dairy farm, that would be covered as well. Well-being, I don't know. If I was lactose intolerant and gluten-resistant, there would go well-being and responsibility right out the window, which does not open because this is an institution and the buildings are climate controlled. You can't open the windows, so slogans be damned. The whole flimsy successory edifice collapses like a stack of cards with the least whiff of adversity. When I was a kid, we used to sing fight songs at the games, leaving the rest of our time free to fill our heads with bullshit of our own devising. Not anymore. Now it's wall-to-wall empty slogans, buzzwords, business models. The journey to excellence is over. We have arrived. Excellence everywhere you turn, everywhere you go. Excellence, excellence, excellence. Here's a story. The mystical anthropologist. The mystical anthropologist traveled to Tibet. Various adepts acquainted her with much secret lore, including how to create thought forms called tulpas. She decided to make one, having been warned that tulpas can become mischievous or even demonic. She chose as her thought form something harmless, a short, fat, jolly monk. After months of concentration and arcane rites, the phantom monk gradually took form. He became a guest, sharing her yurt with her. She embarked on a pilgrimage, she and a Sherpa, to a temple some distance away. Whenever she grew bored of the Sherpa's company, she would summon the monk, who would perform whatever droll action she commanded, such as touching his nose with his finger, crossing his eyes, or hopping. One day, he materialized without her thinking of him. He walked, stopped, and gazed into the distance. His appearance began to change. He grew thinner. His wide smile became thin-lipped. He would cock his head when he looked at her in a vaguely insolent manner. The apparitions were visual, but once she thought she felt his hand on her shoulder. When she turned, he was not there. Then the Sherpa saw him briefly, even doing a double take before the tulpa dematerialized. There's nothing unusual in seeing hallucinations, the mystical anthropologist realized. But when others can see the thought forms you created, the experiment has perhaps gone too far. The next morning, she rose early, sewing the yurt shut behind her. As she and the Sherpa moved swiftly away, her heart was pounding. She feared that the tulpa could appear beside her at any moment with a sly glance and a bold, unwelcome gesture. But she never did see the tulpa again. When she returned to the yurt 2 weeks later, no trace remained. But she did have a dream of him. He was standing in a marketplace in a large city, back turned to her. He was wearing a Panama suit and was staring up at a window in a hotel, one hand in his pocket. He'd become quite tall. Don't turn around, she thought. She knew if he turned around, if he saw her there, if she looked into his eyes, she'd be lost. Does the important announcer make important announcements? That's the question for our times. The first announcer on the radio had manifested himself from the pages of upscale magazines. The first announcer wanted to sound like those magazines read, direct but dreamy, a beam on a stormy day. And you, of all people, would amaze the world, Mr. Announcer. even though it was only partially of your doing, a bit part really, letting the listeners know what's what, who's who, when to leave, best guess, when to go home, when to take a risk, who you should adore in the world of Broadway and movie stars and advertising, where you make your living, telling us what is what. And in the movies, announcers had their part to play. If something important was happening in the script, movies would often use a newscaster to give the information and save a bit on special effects. The Martians are coming, a newscaster might say. Compare that to what the man on the street might say. The Martians are coming. The Martians are coming. The Martians are coming. That is important information. It doesn't really matter. It's just a fucking movie, but who are you going to trust? So announcers in those days, many of them, thanks to being glorified in the infant media by themselves and others, went on to become important announcers. Listeners and then viewers, before you know it, could recognize announcers just by the importance of their vowels. And important announcers were suddenly everywhere, and the importance of their announcements somewhat universal. But like a mummy's curse, or the third wish on a paw, or Cassandra turned inside out, the more announcements you make, the more likely an error, which makes announcers' veracity suspect. And perhaps that important announcement is in fact mundane. It is a mundane announcement, and if mundane announcements are important, then nothing is important, because mundane and important cannot coexist. They destroy each other, and the important announcer is left crippled and alone. The airwaves wash over him. Soothing words are spoken. There's nothing new to say. And so history has passed the important announcer by. Can the important announcer make important announcements? Alas, Babylon, no, he cannot. There are no important announcers. For God's sakes, prove me wrong. Those days are gone. Remember when you lay on your mother's rug, the room darkened yet glowing with the twin lights of the dwindling fire, and the fire from the radio, the glow of its dial, and the fire's reflection there? Like there was the genie breathing gently inside its box. And when it spoke in many voices. And in music. All there, one after another inside that box, that magical box. Radio, radio, radio. Where important announcements are always made, never born. Is when last poem, which would be a song sometime, but not now. Intuition led to sin, to my side and to my bed. Think of all the could have beens that led to somewhere else instead. Which to follow? Science says fun, science says fight, science says run. Profile the predator, fat lot of good. You're standing in his comfort zone where all his snacks have stood. Intuition's what to do, where to turn, time to go. The why of leaving's up to you, based on every pain you know. Log the battles, map your stands. The world bows down, your pride makes plans. Old wives tell you, your mother understands. 12 steps only walk you back to where you first began. Intuition brought us here, blind ambition laced with fear. We thought we were the lucky ones, the ones who don't get schooled. Intuition showed the way that it was our lucky day. We woke up to the ugly truth. We were lonely fools. I got you, you got me. Let it go, come lie with me. Old wives can tell you. Your mother understands. 12 steps only walk you back to where you first began. That's all. Thank you.
Hey, Merle, that was great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Brilliantly intelligent, as always.
Well, thank you.
And your concentrated writing.
I'm sorry, what?
Concentrated writing.
Well, yeah, that was it. I had trouble with it. I couldn't. My printer ran out of ink. I did sort of jerry rig reading this off of laptops. Ideally, I guess I should have memorized it, but I didn't.
It's a lot to memorize.
Well, yeah, I'm actually still writing it until this afternoon too. So that
What made you want to write this?
Well, this last thing I wrote about the radio, just about There's just the idea like that Trump, fake news, all that kind of stuff. Like, well, what does that mean? It's all fake. I mean, it all depends on who's saying it. Really, there is truth, but you don't believe it if certain people are saying it. You know what I mean? Just as you believe lies if certain people are saying it. So it seems to be kind of a weird thing that we've thrown ethics out the window because of we believe announcers more than wise people.
More than what kind of people?
Wise people.
Wise people.
Yes, because we don't. Let's go to the wise people. We go to what the announcers say the wise people said. It seems like we just sort of like don't go to the source for things anymore.
We just go to the announcement.
Yeah, we go to when somebody else tells us about it. So it's all cliff notes and nobody reads anything. I guess it's always been that way, really.
But do you read things?
Yeah, I read a lot. There's you can see all the books behind me.
So you're not. So when you say things as the announcer, can we believe you?
No, not at all. Because I just read bullshit. I don't read good stuff.
What are you reading right now?
Right now, what am I reading now? I just found a book I got for free. It's a old Ellery Queen anthology of mystery stories from 1949. That's right. But it's great. All these writers that I really like from that period. That's another sad thing too. It's like all these great writers. There's a certain style of writing that used to have, like a Twilight Zone, and Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and all these shows, and they're just gone. But there are all these great writers that flourished for like 10 years, and then the taste changed, and we don't read those kind of stories anymore. Like with surprise endings and mysteries and that kind of stuff. It just doesn't resonate with people the way they used to. It's very strange how that happens.
Things change, huh? So what are you up to? How'd you like doing this on Zoom? What's it feel like to you?
It was fun. It's a little odd. I feel like I'm just who's watching, and you don't hear laughter or people going or what the hell is he going on about, or any of the kind of stuff you usually get from an audience. But it's certainly I don't have to leave the house, which is always nice, especially if in the present circumstances, but everything's on fire and toxic. It's probably best not to leave the house.
Toxic and infectious.
I know, infectious, toxic, on fire. That's the world today. But it's not bad. I was just saying that today. It's like, wow, it's like two plagues from the end time plagues, like a plague and fire is happening, and we're doing okay. We're still in there, hanging in there.
Yep. So does anyone have any questions for Merle? If you have a question, put it in the chat. Joshua, you have a question?
Joshua.
No? Then why did you make some noise? Why are you so big?
Why am I
so
big?
big?
Are you staying in the ruined battleground of World War I? Looks like it.
Yesterday I had an inferno behind me, so today it's the residue of the inferno.
Oh, okay. I guess yeah.
What is your
favorite
plague?
My favorite plague.
I like frogs.
Well, I think locusts, just because I guess you can catch them and eat them. I guess, can't you? I mean, frogs too, I guess, but they're harder to catch, I think.
Tastes just like chicken. Dorothy's got something.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a comment. It's been at least 10, 15 years since I've seen your performances at the Marsh, but the delivery and some of your storytelling in between, I kept thinking of the N. Judah story. I really missed you. I'm sorry. And today I found your two books.
Great.
I think one actually had a title about the announcer. I can't remember the other one, but I still love N. Judah. The N. Judah stories were hilarious.
those they're all true. All the things in that Judah thing were true. I think pretty much. I believe.
Everything happens on the end, Judah, so it can all.
I know.
Yes. I'm glad you're still. You're still sharp. Good. You're still.
Okay, I'm sharp as a bread knife. You know.
I remember when you lived out in the outer Sunset, and we used to bump into each other in the Safeway store at what was it, like 29th and Irvin, Pacheco or whatever.
Yeah, it was on Terrible. Not Terrible.
Yeah. And then you ended up moving to the East Bay, and we started missing you. So it's.
Yeah, I don't. I don't get to the Sunset much anymore.
And I moved into Sonoma County, so I have all the fires around me. So it's I don't get into the city too often. So, but I miss Stephanie too. So.
Well, good. Glad you showed up for this.
Yes, I always do. I support the marsh.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's the nice thing about Zoom is you can you can see something in San Francisco and not be there. That's kind of cool.
I've had some conversations with some people from the SF guides, tour guides, Rodney and Richie Unterberger, and they do things for the Grateful Dead and the Airplane. And some of the other people I've gotten into, we don't think Zoom will ever go away, regardless of what happens with everything else in the world. I have gotten so addicted. I Zoom like at least once or twice a day, and I'm touring museums in Amsterdam, in Paris, with the curators that are walking me and showing me the brush strokes on artwork. And it's fabulous. All
you gotta do is figure out the way to do simultaneous audio that sounds good. I think they'll be,
they got it down. They got it down. So, and the marsh is doing pretty good too. I mean, there are other places that are a little bit rough, but the marsh, Stephanie's got it going pretty well. So.
That seems pretty painless.
Yeah, she is. She's pretty good. I met a lady that knows you, Stephanie. Oh God, what was her name? She is one of the directors at the Cinnabar in Petaluma.
Which one?
Oh, I'll have to get back to you. I can't remember her name. I'm really bad at names. But
you can let me know at bingo.
Pardon?
Let me know at bingo.
Okay, I'll look it up and find it. But yeah, you're well known in North Bay also. So. There's other people to go. Let them take a chance.
Any other questions? Because we're coming to the end of our hour.
Oh, that's right. It's got to, the pumpkin coach has to turn back into a mouse.
Yeah. So, anything you want to say in closing, Mr. Kessler?
Well, thank you all for attending. It was my pleasure, and I hope you enjoyed it. And email me and let you know, because this is the first time I've read through it. So there's very much a work in progress.
No, maybe we'll do it again. People liked it.
Well, good.
And Joshua, and even though we hope someday we can do simultaneous Zooms from San Francisco and the and we can have Joshua and you doing your performances on Zoom.
Yeah, we could do that. We'd have to be in the same place, wouldn't we? Yeah, so we can let's figure that out. That's a thing to figure out.
The technology's on its way. It's just not here yet. But Merle and I are working on new stuff.
What are you working?
We are, yeah.
What are you working?
Lyrics.
A new song.
Oh, you're gonna do a new song? That's
Send me the lyrics for Intuition. I'll work on that too.
okay. I think I want Merle to send it. But Joshua's doing Beetle Nights on Tuesdays. He's going to be doing September 15th and 22nd. Everybody gets to sing favorite Beatle songs.
R-I-N-G-O.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
And thank you for having me, Stephanie. It was a pleasure.
It was a wonderful pleasure, Merle. Hope to see you again soon. We can do some more of these if you'd like.
Sure. Great. Thanks.
And consider making a donation to our tip jar. I think maybe there'll be the tip jar link in our chat, or you can go to our website. It's double tonight. We've got a match, and see us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thank you all for coming. Let the smoke go away. Let the fires go out. Let them find a way that we're not going to get COVID. Thank you all. Keep in good spirits and stay healthy. Bye now. Goodbye. Thank you.